Hey! You're in there, right? Where are you? Come out, please! Ah. It's you, isn't it? You've grown up so much. I've finally found you. I'm your real mom. Who's this old lady? Looks like you've grown up healthy. That's great. Hey, Mike. Why show up now after all this time? I heard you landed a job at a big corporation. Makes me so proud. I'm sorry for leaving you alone all these years. We just didn't have the financial means to raise you. I'm truly sorry. You're old enough to earn your own living now. Our financial situation doesn't matter anymore, right? Let's live together and fill the 23-year gap in our parent-child relationship. When my niece was born with a disability, my brother and his wife abandoned her at our parents' house and disappeared. 23 years later, they've returned, barging into the house, planning to take her away. It seems they've heard she landed a job at a big corporation and are looking to mooch off her. But my niece is smart, she won't fall for their tricks. Real mom and dad? Can I really live with you? What? I'm momentarily shocked by my niece's response. But her words. Actually, I am Emily. A 35-year-old corporate employee. I've lived a work-centered life. My strict attitude at work has made me somewhat feared, and I'm aware I'm becoming the old guard. Having given up on romance. Some might find my life lonely, but work is enough for me, so I don't feel that way. Although I'm not interested in love or marriage, the thought that work is my only joy does make me a bit uneasy. I also feel bad for not being able to show my parents their grandchild. For grandchildren, I guess they have to rely on my brother. My brother Mike, 3 years younger than me, is the complete opposite of my introverted self. He's incredibly outgoing. As a college student, he rarely came home during summer breaks, preferring to hang out with friends. He also loved organizing big get-togethers for seasonal events like Halloween and New Year's Eve. I've been invited too. Hey sis, wanna join our next party? I'm good, thanks. Why not? You've never had a boyfriend, right? You might meet someone. I'm not interested, just leave me be. I'm 35 and have never had a boyfriend. Unlike Mike, who, while not being a heartthrob, has always been popular, with no shortage of friends and romantic interests. He's hardly been without a partner since college. It's nice to live every day as if it's your birthday. But I've had my concerns. Mike, are your grades okay? Yeah. I always calculate the credits needed for graduation and how many classes I can skip without trouble. Sounds like you're always on the edge of failing. Shouldn't you study more seriously? What are you even doing in college? As long as I graduate, it's all good, right? You should try having some fun instead of just studying. You're the one who plays too much. Even when we talk, his phone is constantly buzzing with messages and social media notifications. A stark contrast to mine, which barely receives anything but app notifications. He's what you'd call living the life. But to me, it seemed like he was just postponing his problems. After graduating, Mike got a job and moved out. As I had done earlier. Our parents were left alone at home. I remember calling my mom the day Mike left. Mike moved out today, didn't he? Yes, now we're finally done with parenting. It feels like we've accomplished something. She said with a mix of satisfaction and a tinge of sadness. Since then, I've made a point to regularly contact our parents. Living only an hour's drive from our family home, I tried to visit as often as possible. Every time I returned home, our parents were visibly happy, seemingly missing us. But it seemed I was the only one keeping in touch. I wonder what Mike's up to these days. He lives a bit far, so it's not easy for him to come home, right? But he could at least call, couldn't he? Don't boys usually behave like that? Mom sighed softly. She was clearly worried about him. I shared her concern, wondering if Mike was still living with a student mindset. When I got back home, I decided to call Mike for the first time in a while. Hello? Sis, what's up? I know you can't come home often, but you haven't been in touch with Mom at all, have you? She's worried about you. Always so serious, huh? Okay. Tell her I'm doing fine. Tell her yourself. And you're working properly, right? Yeah, I am. Just doing what I'm told, so it's a breeze. There you go again with that careless attitude. Work is different from college, you know. Okay, I get it. Mike sounded increasingly disinterested, his tone dropping and his responses getting shorter. He still considered me too serious, and it seemed he hadn't changed much either. Worried about him, I decided to call him regularly, just like I did with our parents. It might be nosy, but I can't help worrying about family. I started calling Mike regularly and updating Mom about his situation. It seemed to bring her some peace of mind, as her voice sounded brighter when I told her about Mike's circumstances. However, Mike gradually stopped answering my calls and eventually stopped altogether. It's been 5 years now with no contact, and he hasn't shown his face at home. Mike's 32 now, huh? I wonder if he's still working at the same company? Maybe he's changed jobs and moved? One day, while quietly eating dinner alone at home, I suddenly found myself thinking about Mike. Little did I know that this was a premonition of things to come. As I ate dinner with the TV sound as my background music, my phone rang. The only calls I usually get are app notifications or from Mom. I paused my dinner to answer Mom's call. Hello, what's up? I got a call from Mike. Mom sounded excited, almost breathless. I figured she must be thrilled to hear from Mike after 5 years, but it seemed there was more to her joy. Mike's coming home. Huh, that's unusual. Did something happen? He's having a baby. Really? I was genuinely surprised. A baby for Mike, of all people. Mike isn't married, so it's a case of a baby coming before marriage. Shotgun weddings aren't uncommon, and neither I nor our parents have the old-fashioned mindset that marriage must come first. In fact, Mom and I both laughed, finding it so typical of Mike that his first contact in 5 years was to announce a baby. When's he coming? Next month. I'll come home too then. I'd like to meet Mike's fiancée. I decided to go back to our family home to celebrate with Mike. Imagining my brother as a responsible adult, I found my appetite returning as I resumed my dinner. But the reality of Mike's situation was far different from what I had imagined. Hey! Dad. Mom. Can we stay here at this house? What? Mike's fiancée, Christy, stood there, her hands on her visibly pregnant belly, looking down uncomfortably. The day Mike returned, Mom and I welcomed him and Christy at the door. After brief greetings, we led them to the living room where Dad was. Mike, about to share news of the pregnancy and marriage, sat before us with a somber expression. An uneasy silence filled the air, preventing anyone from speaking first. Then, in a thin voice, Mike broke the silence, expressing his wish to return home. What do you mean? Well, I haven't been able to hold down a job. I've been hopping from one job to another, and at 32, with no real skills or achievements, job hunting's getting tough. Right now, I'm unemployed, and my savings are almost gone. And the baby is almost due. So, you're out of options and want to come back home? You were right, sis. I regret not working more seriously. I know it's too late for regrets. But seeing Christy's belly grow, I realized I need to step up. Please, let us stay here until after the baby is born. I know it's rude to ask to stay the first time I visit. But we have nowhere else to go. Please, can we stay? Mike and Christy both had their faces flushed red, their eyes brimming with tears. Though Mike's predicament was a result of his own doing, he must have reflected on his actions and struggled up to this point. Looking at our parents, I could tell they were resigned to accepting Mike and Christy. They probably wanted to give Mike a chance to recover from his mistakes, but more so, they couldn't bear the thought of their first grandchild facing hardships. You can stay in this house, but in return, Mike, you need to find a job. Thank you. I'll work hard. With Dad's permission, Mike and Christy started living in our family home. They had planned to register their marriage after the baby was born, but since Christy was moving in, they decided to get married sooner as a form of commitment. Now, Mike and Christy were officially husband and wife. All that was left was for Christy to give birth safely and for Mike to find a job and get their lives back on track before moving out. I thought everything was heading towards a resolution, but the situation worsened. 2 months later, Christy gave birth. Mike left his work early to go to the hospital. The next morning, knowing it was a bit inconvenient, I called Mike before he left for work. "Congratulations. The baby was born, right?" "Yeah." I thought Mike would be overjoyed as it was the day after his baby's birth. But the tone of his voice was as if he was walking through hell. "I have to go to work now. I can't be late since I just started this job." "Oh. Sorry. Have a good day." After Mike hung up, I immediately called Mom. "Mom, what's up with Mike?" "That's the thing, I don't know. He's been down since he returned from the hospital yesterday. He won't answer any of my questions." It was clear that something had happened to Mike. Given his condition, Mom and I decided it was best to leave him alone until he was ready to talk, and for now, just celebrate Christy's childbirth. 3 days after Christy's delivery, my parents and I went to the hospital to visit her and see the baby. That's when we learned why Mike was so down. "Please, take a look at the baby. We're planning to name her Lily." "Oh, she's adorable. She's going to be as pretty as Christy." My parents were speechless with joy, just smiling and gazing at their granddaughter's face. I was also admiring the cute baby when I noticed something. "Huh? Her hand?" I hesitantly rolled up the baby's sleeve. Lily's right hand had only 3 fingers. "It's called congenital limb deficiency. It happens in about 1 in 1,000 births." Christy explained in a small voice, tears spilling as she sat on the bed. My parents and I were at a loss for words. It sounded like schoolchildren were leaving nearby, their voices faintly reaching the quiet hospital room. "But she's here with us, safe and sound. Let's make her happy. If there's anything I can do, just let me know. I'll help." "Emily, Christy seems tired. We've seen the baby, so shall we head home for today?" "Christy, we'll visit again tomorrow." I wanted to cheer up the disheartened Christy. However, Mom seemed to think it was best to leave her alone for now. As I had no experience with childbirth, I decided to follow Mom's judgment and we left for the day. On the way home from the hospital, I quickly realized Mom's decision was right. Just because the baby has a disability, it's still a good thing she was born, right? Why be so down about it? I think Christy isn't shocked about having a baby with a disability, but rather, she feels guilty for giving birth to a baby with a condition, Mom speculated. I felt embarrassed for trying to forcefully cheer up Christy. Back at home, I found Mike there. To avoid making the same mistake I did with Christy, I chose my words carefully and spoke slowly. "I saw the baby. She's adorable. She's going to be a beauty when she grows up. What's the use of being pretty if she has monster-like hands?" Mike retorted. "Hey! What are you saying?" I understood Mike was shocked about his daughter. But I couldn't just let that comment slide. So, I decided to stop mincing my words. "I don't know the details, but if her right hand is impaired, then as parents, we should be the ones to help her. So what if she's a little different from others? We have to raise that monster for the rest of our lives? I finally find a job, ready to get our lives back on track, and then she's born like that? How can I possibly feel motivated to work?" "Motivation? What do you mean? Your child isn't a tool for you to feel motivated at work." "You wouldn't understand, Emily. You've never been a parent." "Sure, I've never given birth, so I might not understand a parent's feelings. But I do know you're saying something fundamentally wrong as a person." Yeah. I'm wrong, fine. Why did I have to draw the short straw in 1 in 1,000? It's such a hassle. Mike walked out of the house with a lethargic gait. Did I choose my words wrongly again? Unfortunately, as Mike said, I lack the experience of being a parent. Engaging in conversation might lead to more conflicts like before, so it's better to leave this to our parents. Consequently, troubled over how to interact with Mike and Christy, I decided to stop visiting the family home for a while. However, during my absence, a terrible incident occurred. 1 week after Christy was discharged from the hospital and returned home, Mom called me early in the morning.
Emily! Come home immediately!
What? Why so early in the morning?
Mike and Christy are gone! What?
I grabbed only my wallet with my driver's license and rushed to the family home in my car, still in my pajamas.
Look at this!
Upon arriving, I was shown a torn piece of paper from a notepad with Mike's sloppy handwriting. Please take care of our daughter.
What does this mean? I don't know. This note was all that was left when we woke up.
Wasn't Mike supposed to work hard because his daughter was born? No, maybe his true feeling was that raising a disabled child was too much trouble. Did Christy not find their daughter, who grew inside her and was finally born, cute? If she did, she wouldn't abandon her newborn. I exploded in anger at Mike and Christy for changing their attitude so drastically just because of a disability and leaving their daughter with just a note.
What do you mean I wouldn't understand a parent's feelings? Don't abandon your responsibilities.
My outburst frightened Lily, making her cry. Hearing her cry, I calmed down a bit. This innocent child shouldn't suffer because of this. I'll become her mother. The words came out naturally as I looked at Lily. Naturally, my parents panicked and tried to stop me.
You can't just suddenly become a mother.
Let's wait and see. Maybe Mike and Christy will come back. We'll take care of Lily for now.
They're not coming back.
Careful consideration is necessary in making decisions. However, sometimes it's important to act swiftly. I conveyed my firm resolve to my parents through the determination in my eyes. All right, but you can't do it alone. We'll support you. And so, we decided to raise Lily together. First, we needed to address the legal aspect, as Mike and Christy still had parental rights. A mere note saying please take care of our daughter wasn't enough. Mike and Christy were untraceable, having changed their phone numbers. So, I decided to become Lily's legal guardian under the minor guardianship system, citing their long-term absence. Now, I was effectively Lily's mother. But it was a challenging process that took a considerable amount of time. I couldn't quit my job while raising her. So my parents helped me with childcare. Alongside raising Lily, I kept a casual eye out for Mike and Christy's whereabouts. Not to return Lily to them, but because I wanted to give them a piece of my mind. I had no intention of giving Lily back to them. 10 years after taking Lily in, she grew up healthy and unaffected by her right hand. She has a spirited personality, once even standing up to a boy who teased her about her hand at school. While violence isn't praiseworthy, it's good to be strong. Being left-handed, she doesn't have many problems in daily life. Just minor inconveniences like struggling to open small snack bags or not being able to hold utensils with her right hand. Now that Lily is 10, it's time to seriously consider certain things. When should we tell Lily about Mike and them? Isn't 10 years old too soon? Maybe it would be better before she starts working? I still haven't told my daughter that I am not her biological mother. Although I consider her as my own, being called mom can sometimes be painful since I haven't disclosed the truth. 10 more years have passed, and my daughter is now a 20-year-old college student. Our lives have also undergone significant changes. Mom, thank you for all your help. I'll take care of the rest. Standing in front of the grave, I joined my hands and expressed my future determination to my mother. My father had already passed away 3 years ago. Even though my parents are gone, there's something I decided 10 years ago that I must do. Lily, come here for a second. What's up? One night, I called my daughter to the living room and had her sit down in front of me. I had decided with my parents to tell her about Mike and his wife before she became an adult working. As her job hunting was about to begin, I chose to tell her the truth. The thought of her reaction to learning that I am not her birth mother made me suddenly tense up. My breathing became erratic, and I couldn't find the words to start. Seeing me so unusually tense, Lily looked at me with concern. Once I had come this far, I couldn't just say nothing, so I braced myself.
Lily, you are actually my brother's child.
What?
What do you mean?
My words left Lily visibly shaken, and she seemed to react with a half laugh, not knowing how to process it. I explained to her the whole truth about how I took her in. The irresponsibility of Mike and his wife at work, their reaction when she was born, and how they left her with only a note. Hearing all this might make her feel sad. But I had to tell her. So, with a clenched fist and a strong heart, I continued. As I recounted everything, Lily's face gradually reddened.
What? They're the worst. Instead, I'm thankful they left me behind and you raised me, Mom.
Really? Oh, okay.
Mom, why that face?
I must have looked dumbfounded because Lily accepted the truth so easily. I had braced for her to be upset, but she wasn't, which took me by surprise. The happiness of her still calling me Mom despite knowing the truth came to me later.
So, where are Mike and his wife now?
I don't know. For the past 20 years, we haven't found Mike and his wife. They occasionally show up to other relatives or acquaintances. But they disappear without revealing their whereabouts, so we never really know where they are. But I'm not actively trying to find them, so it's okay if they remain unfound. 3 more years passed, and Lily graduated from college and started working. She didn't move out, though. I live in a suburb within commuting distance to the office. It's accessible by train to the business district. Lily also got a job at a company near where I work, so there's no need for her to leave home.
You chose a company close by so you wouldn't have to move out, right?
Yeah. It saves on rent, doesn't it?
Choosing a job like that, are you sure it's okay?
It's fine. Don't worry. Her casual way of handling important matters somewhat reminds me of my brother. I wonder if this kind of thing is related to blood. However, my daughter and my brother are vastly different in one crucial aspect. My daughter got a job at a large corporation. She seems even more capable at her job than I am, already entrenched in my workaholic ways. Not only is she academically gifted, but she also possesses quick decision-making skills and the ability to act promptly, which are extremely important in the working world. With the knowledge and skills she will acquire at the company, she'll be unstoppable. Unlike my brother, I have no worries about her in the social world. I hope she will thrive in her career. One morning, the doorbell rang unexpectedly early. I checked the monitor and was at a loss for words. On the monitor were a man and a woman who looked all too familiar, though far from neat in appearance and haggard. It took me a moment to recognize him, but the man was undoubtedly my brother. Unchanged even after 20 years. Recognizing him, I knew the woman beside him had to be his wife.
Who is it? I don't know, but I'll go check.
Not wanting Lily to meet Mike and his wife, I hurried to the door without responding to them through the intercom. Their sudden arrival left me wondering about their intentions. It wasn't a conversation for the doorstep. I planned to take them to a nearby park to talk. Opening the door without securing the chain, a mistake. The moment I opened the door, Mike forcefully pushed it open.
Hey! Lily! You're there, right? Where are you? Come out, please!
As they barged in uninvited, raising their voices loud enough for the neighbors to hear, they began searching for Lily.
Ah. You're Lily, right? You've grown up. We finally met. I'm your real mom.
Who's this old lady? You seem to have grown up well. That's good. When Mike and his wife entered the living room, they found Lily having breakfast. Surprised by the sudden intrusion of strangers, she became defensive and her tone harsh. I followed them into the living room shortly after.
Hey, Mike! What are you doing here now?
Hearing me call out Mike's name, Lily looked startled. Being sharp, she seemed to realize these were the people I had talked about, her biological parents. I heard you landed a job at a big corporation. Your strength in overcoming your disability makes me so proud. I'm sorry for leaving you alone all these years. We just didn't have the financial means to raise you. I'm really sorry. You're old enough to earn your own living now. Our financial situation doesn't matter anymore, right? Let's live together and fill the 23-year gap in our parent-child relationship. It was clear that Mike and his wife, having heard about Lily's employment at a big corporation, were looking to mooch off her. But my daughter is smart, she won't fall for their tricks. I wasn't worried about her reaction. Instead, I was concerned about how to get Mike and his wife out of the house. Real mom and dad? Can I really live with you?
What?
I couldn't help but exclaim. Mike and his wife, noticing my reaction, looked at me and smirked. Yeah, it's better to live with your real parents, right? Come on, say thank you to your fake mom and let's go.
But, wait a minute. I need to know more about you too before I can make a decision.
Let's talk about it when we get back home. Yeah, let's do that. Mom, I'm sorry. I want to find out who my parents are, who I haven't seen for 23 years. Lily. My daughter stares into my eyes desperately. Her uncle and his wife watch this with smirks on their faces. They probably think that if they can just take her away from here, everything else will fall into place. But I caught a glimpse of some strategy in my daughter's eyes. This unspoken message, something only a parent and child of 23 years would understand, seems to be lost on her uncle and his wife. Well, shall we go then? Thank you for taking care of my daughter. With triumphant smiles, the uncle and his wife leave. I trust my daughter and decide to just sit on the living room sofa and wait. I never knew simply waiting could feel so long. The clock's hands seemed to move slower than usual. I'm home. In the evening, my daughter returns as if she'd just been out playing with friends. Welcome back. Everything okay? Nothing weird happened? I'm fine. But look at this, I got it all together. Huh? What she hands me is a notebook. Inside, over several pages, is a summary of what her uncle and his wife have been up to over these 23 years. It was tough getting it all together. They're not great at telling stories, so I had to piece together the important bits. So that's what you were doing. Of course. I wouldn't really go to their place. Just heard them out and came straight back. According to my daughter, after leaving our family home, her uncle and his wife kept changing jobs. Their living places changed frequently too. But these moves weren't for job hunting. They've been borrowing money and running away. So they show up at relatives and acquaintances, borrow money, and then run away again. They said they'd paid off their debts and came to take me in, but that's obviously a lie. Wonder how desperate they must be to rely on the money of someone who's just started working? If we think about why they had to show up in front of us, they must be really desperate. That's what it seems like. Oh, and here are their 2 addresses. That's the most important info, right? My daughter proudly points to the address of her uncle and his wife she noted in her notebook. In just half a day, she had exposed the whereabouts of her uncle and his wife, who had been elusive for 23 years. Feeling proud of her, I pull out my smartphone. A week later, my brother and his wife came to our house again.
Hey! What did you guys do? You've caused us so much trouble. How are you gonna take responsibility?
They seem panicked this time, not even ringing the doorbell but banging on the door and yelling. To avoid disturbing the neighbors, I stop preparing breakfast and head to the front door. Should I come too? No need to let those 2 see Lily. That would be a waste. I go to the door alone, this time opening it with the chain on. As expected, my brother tries to force the door open. But with the chain, the door only opens a bit, and he has to peek through the gap.
Relatives and acquaintances showed up at our house demanding their money back. What did you do?
I just shared your address, which Lily got from you, with the people you've visited over the past 20 years.
You knew we were borrowing and running?
Of course. I'm not like you, I keep up with relatives. Thought about confronting you before. You borrowed from some shady places, right? I've spread the word to relatives and acquaintances, so even your creditors might catch on.
Mike. We can't stay then. We gotta run.
What did they come for? They probably wanted to complain to me and my daughter, but upon realizing their address was more widely known than they thought, they quickly left. They're probably preparing to skip town tonight. All done? Yeah, finally over. Took 23 years. This incident should make them realize that Lily is not their child, but mine. This should keep them from showing up in front of us again. I go back to my breakfast, which now tastes even better. I heard from relatives that some dangerous people already knew their address and took them away. A few relatives had gone to their house to ask for their money back and happened to encounter this scene. 3 men in regular suits, polite and kind to my relatives, were there. Excuse us, but could we speak to them first? Though smiling, the relatives felt an aura from these men and stepped back, letting them take precedence in demanding the debt repayment. From the next day, my brother and his wife haven't been home. Where they were taken, I don't know, but they've disappeared again. I hope they're somewhere working honestly. My daughter and I continue our lives unchanged, both doing well in our jobs. Next weekend, we plan to visit our parents and report about my brother and his wife.